a high-stakes, high-drama romance film, The Next 365 Days, the third film of the popular hit movie on Netflix. In this film, Laura not only emotionally and physically cheats on her partner, but also fantasizes about a threesome, leaving many viewers wide-eyed. However, the plot doesn't compare to the first movie where the domineering mafia boss falls in love with her. The storyline remains simple. The female lead goes from initial resistance to engaging in a passionate battle. Let's take a quick look back at the first film. Massimo is the heir to a mafia family. He had no interest in running the business, but his father was determined for him to take over. Before they could discuss it, a bullet struck, and his father died on the spot. Massimo was also seriously injured. The story then skips to 5 years later. Massimo has since taken over the family business. Every day, countless women throw themselves at him, but he only plays along to keep appearances. Meanwhile, Laura is a hotel executive with a stunning figure and impressive looks. Though she is successful in her career, her boyfriend is a bald, out-of-shape man with no idea how discontent Laura really is. The two of them travel to Sicily for a vacation, but Laura quickly grows tired of her boyfriend's vulgarity. She leaves the gathering and wanders the streets at night, only to bump into Massimo. Laura didn't think much of the man at first. The next day, she and her friend are sunbathing, but her boyfriend shows up again, being annoying. Laura pushes him into the pool when he isn't paying attention. Later, while wandering through the foreign alleys, Laura gets lost. When she wakes up, she finds herself in a luxurious castle, and to her surprise, her portrait is hanging on the wall. Massimo appears behind her as Laura tries to resist. He explains that he has been in love with her for 5 years, ever since he first saw her through binoculars. Massimo was determined to make her his after their chance encounter on the island. She just wanted to leave as soon as possible, but how could Massimo let her go? Laura, a weak woman, was no match for the boss. She was pinned down on the sofa, and he proposed a 365-day deal. Within a year, Laura had to stay by Massimo's side, or he would use all means to make her fall in love with him. Laura refused to sit idly by and started thinking about how to escape unnoticed. Whenever she was caught, Massimo would forcefully restrain her on the bed, leaving her unable to move. Laura slaps him, showing she's not one to be trifled with. Sometimes the weather was unpredictable, but life with Massimo wasn't all bad. It took her shopping, and she didn't hold back, buying piles of clothes until the bodyguards couldn't carry anymore. As they walked, bags started falling off. At one point, Laura sought help from the police, but she realized Massimo's influence had long reached them. This made Laura even more frustrated, but she slowly gave up on thoughts of escaping. Since Massimo didn't force her into sex, she felt more at ease. They slept together, but their relationship hadn't yet progressed to a physical one. One morning, Laura woke up and admired Massimo's muscular physique, and would sometimes deliberately shower in front of him, revealing herself. But just when things were heating up, they would stop at the crucial moment, leaving Massimo frustrated. If Laura pushed too far, for example, flirting with another man in front of him could make him lose focus on business altogether. In one instance, Laura was forcefully tied to a bed in a hotel, spread out in the shape of an X forced to watch Massimo and another woman engage in intimate acts. But Laura wouldn't admit defeat so easily. She dressed provocatively, having a wild time with strangers. Unbeknownst to her, she had picked a fight with another gang. When she couldn't get out of the situation, Massimo came to her rescue. This sparked a gang war between two factions. Laura and Massimo had a huge argument. Laura accidentally fell into the sea. Massimo, despite his anger, dove in to save her, the woman he both loved and hated. When Laura woke up, she realized she had fallen for him too, and willingly gave herself to him. Their passion left a lasting impression. Eventually, Massimo took Laura to a masquerade ball, where they danced intimately. But then, a striking woman appeared. It was Massimo's ex-girlfriend. She had lost him because of Laura, and now she threatened Massimo, promising to find a way to get rid of Laura. Sensing the looming danger, Massimo had Laura sent back to Poland, granting her freedom. But Laura wasn't as happy as she had imagined. She had gotten used to the physical relationship with Massimo. She tried to fill the void by going out with her best friend. But fate brought her back to her ex-boyfriend. She followed him to his apartment, seeking reconciliation, but Massimo had already infiltrated the place. Massimo picked Laura up like a groom carrying his bride, and after their passionate encounter, Laura noticed the scars on his body. Filled with emotion, she confessed her love, realizing she needed 365 days to truly understand him. And at last she said, "I love you." After Laura admits her love for Massimo, Massimo then proposes to her. They spend time shopping and enjoying each other's company. Massimo meets Laura's family, who are initially wary but gradually warm up to him as they see how much he cares for her. While in a car with her best friend Olga, Laura calls Massimo and tells him that she's pregnant. Massimo's security team receives a phone call, and one of his men rushes to inform him that something has gone wrong. Massimo, sensing danger, becomes visibly worried. The security details expressions convey that Laura might be in grave danger, but we do not see exactly what happens. The flashback of him kneeling and proposing highlights their deep connection and the stakes of the potential danger she faces later. The first part ends with Laura entering the tunnel and never coming out. Laura's car enters a tunnel, and soon after all communication is lost, leaving Massimo in a state of fear and panic. This moment of suspense directly segues into 365 Days, this day, the second movie in the trilogy of 365 Days, where we begin to unravel the consequences of that fatal event. The first part ends with Laura entering the tunnel and never coming out. In reality, she was in a car accident and was in critical condition. After Laura recovered, she and Massimo were about to get married. However, before the wedding, the impatient groom and Laura engaged in a passionate encounter. The intense session ended with a cigarette. Soon, the wedding took place at the church and they started their honeymoon. As the sun set, the couple rode horses along the beach. Their time together looked like a fashion shoot, and they played in the pool, splashing and laughing. Most of their time was spent celebrating love, then they visited the golf course. Laura sat on the grass, slowly spreading her white legs. Massimo didn't hesitate to swing his club, scoring perfectly. Meanwhile, Laura's best friend and Massimo's right-hand man also got together, naturally forming a couple. They enjoyed themselves in the luxurious mansion, and when Laura and Massimo returned, the applause hadn't stopped. Massimo paid no attention and ordered everyone to pack for their next trip. His commanding tone irritated Laura. The group traveled across mountains and seas, exploring a beautiful island. Laura and her friend were having a great time, but Massimo came over, stating there was an issue, and they had to leave immediately. Laura was even more upset hearing this, and the mafia boss took her aside for a private chat. Angry, Laura didn't leave. Massimo took everyone else off the island, leaving her alone in the large villa. The plot thickens. A young man named Nacho made a dazzling entrance, introducing himself as the gardener sent by the mafia boss to tend to the flowers. But they hit it off, and Laura began venting to him. Eventually, Laura returned home for Christmas and Massimo gifted her a company so she could have her own career. Laura was touched and kissed him. But it wasn't enough. Soon she realized something suspicious. Massimo was getting close with another woman, his ex-girlfriend. Right in front of Laura's eyes, the two were flirting and touching, heading to a small room to do something inappropriate. Laura followed them, only to find Massimo and his ex making out intensely, completely oblivious to her presence. The ex even shot Laura a smug, triumphant smile. Heartbroken and furious, Laura ran away and bumped into Nacho. Laura followed Nacho to his family home, realizing he wasn't simple. His place was also a luxurious villa. One day, Laura accidentally broke a glass, and Nacho quickly rushed over, scooping her up before she could clean up the shards. As for where they went next, that remains to be seen. Meanwhile, Laura's mother furiously confronted Massimo. She slapped him, accusing him of betraying her daughter and demanding they leave this heartbreaking place. She called him a scumbag, but Massimo was completely confused. He began plotting with his confidant and Laura's best friend. Meanwhile, Laura and Nacho were having a great time, their relationship heating up. Laura even dreamed of being with Nacho multiple times, imagining them doing things that couldn't be described. After dinner, Nacho told her they would meet his father, and Massimo would be there too. Nacho explained that his father was a mafia boss, and Massimo was his sworn enemy. Laura finally understood that everything was a setup. Nacho had used her to threaten Massimo, and she felt utterly helpless. After making a plan, Nacho tells the bodyguards to hide Laura while he goes to check the situation. Meanwhile, Nacho's father is threatening Massimo, saying, "Work with your twin brother. He has been with your ex, and Laura mistakenly believes you've been unfaithful. To save her, you must hand over your family's business." Nacho enters and tells his father. The bodyguards take Laura away. Nacho's father is confused because he didn't send any bodyguards. Nacho and Massimo realize something has gone wrong, and they team up to rescue Laura. Laura, taken to a secret room, notices that although the man looks like Massimo, she can tell he's not her husband. The ex-girlfriend steps out, revealing that she's been working with Massimo's twin brother to deceive Laura. She says the entire plan was to make Laura think Massimo was cheating so they could lure her into this trap. As Massimo and Nacho arrive just in time, it's revealed that the twin brother was behind the tunnel incident that caused Laura's miscarriage. He wants to take back control of the family business. Laura, feeling guilty after hearing the story, breaks free of her restraints and runs to Massimo. Laura is shot during a confrontation between Massimo, his twin brother Adriano, and Laura's lover Nacho. Laura is gravely injured, and the movie ends with her fate unclear. Adriano, who was working with Massimo's ex-lover Anna, is also critically wounded and is shown to be dying after the confrontation. In the final scene, Massimo shoots Adriano. Adriano, who is Massimo's twin brother, is critically wounded. The scene emphasizes the betrayal within the family, as Massimo confronts his brother for his treachery. Laura is left gravely wounded, and Massimo holds her in his arms, devastated and uncertain if she will survive. The story ends here, leaving Laura's fate, the outcome of the standoff, and the unresolved tension between Massimo, Laura, and Nacho for the third installment. This leads smoothly into the next 365 days. Laura, thanks to a miraculous recovery, is once again full of life. This time, she finds herself completely immersed in her desires. In the second part, Laura is gravely injured, and Massimo's twin dies during the confrontation. Without saying much, the new film begins with a mafia family gathering, and Massimo warns Nacho to leave Sicily within 24 hours, or their families will go to war. Everyone leaves, and Massimo returns home to find Laura almost fully recovered. Her passion ignites as she tries to rekindle their love, but Massimo, worried about her health, refuses. Laura, unsatisfied, lets out a scream of frustration, unwilling to give up easily. But later that afternoon, while Massimo is in a meeting, Laura dresses seductively and walks past him into another room. Massimo hurriedly ends the meeting, and they engage in a passionate encounter. Afterward, Laura's appetite for love continues to grow, and she shares her feelings with her best friend. After a bittersweet call, Laura reflects on the complex emotions she's experiencing. Realizing she had misunderstood Massimo, Laura decides to forget Nacho and start fresh. She goes to a nightclub and dances wildly, seemingly trying to drink her worries away. Her friend's boyfriend arrives, and not wanting to be a third wheel, Laura leaves, only to run into Nacho. He asks her why she didn't invite him to join in the fun. Nacho pulls Laura into a VIP room, but Laura lets the people stay, seductively dancing for 30 minutes. After returning home, Massimo drinks in silence, knowing that Laura had spent time with Nacho on the island. He asks her what happened between them, but Laura dodges the question, revealing instead that she is pregnant with Massimo's child. Caught up in the mafia family feud, Laura lost the baby in a car accident. Furious, Massimo smashes a glass on the floor before storming off. Staring at the shards on the ground, Laura prays, recalling a similar moment when Nacho had protected her. Nacho, concerned for her, moves her to a nearby sofa and cleans up the mess. After the fight, Massimo and Laura enter into a cold war. One morning, Laura wakes up to find that her husband is sleeping in another room. As their relationship deteriorates, Laura throws herself into her career. She starts a fashion design company with her best friend, and their hard work soon pays off as they win a prestigious fashion award. After arriving in Portugal, they first head to the beach. Coincidentally, Nacho is there too. That night, she dreams of him again. The next day, the fashion show takes place as planned, and Laura meets Nacho's sister Leah. Leah mentions that her brother can't stop thinking about Laura, admitting that his initial intentions weren't pure but that Nacho has paid a heavy price. Leah hopes Laura will give him a chance to explain. They drive to the dock, and Laura berates Nacho for re-entering her life but can't resist kissing him. Nacho confesses his feelings for her under the candlelit beach, stating that he believes Laura feels the same, and what follows is another intimate moment. The next morning, after freshening up, Nacho drives Laura back to her hotel. Before leaving, he tells her that he's not like Massimo, he won't force her to do anything, and she can decide everything for herself. He says he's willing to wait for her, but Laura doesn't give a definite answer, watching his figure disappear in the distance as she feels conflicted. Upon returning to her room, Laura finds Massimo already there. They argue once again. Laura is furious, thinking that if it weren't for his mafia family, she wouldn't have gotten shot. Massimo says he just wants some space to be alone. After the fight, Laura returns home, where her mother can tell something is on her mind. Laura confesses that she's fallen in love. Her mother asks if Laura weren't Massimo's wife, who would she choose? Laura doesn't know the answer. Her mother advises her to be a little selfish when it comes to love, because happiness is key to cherishing a relationship. Laura seems to understand something from this lesson. In her dreams, she opens her eyes to find herself with both men. Laura wakes up startled and feeling overwhelmed. After taking some time to rest, she decides to return to Sicily. She gets into a car, only to find that the driver is Nacho. He explains that he's risking his life just to talk to her, as both their families now see each other as enemies. If he's caught on enemy territory, he'll be killed without mercy. But Nacho doesn't care. Laura is all that matters to him. Nacho says he's willing to sacrifice everything for Laura. She tells him she needs time to have a serious conversation with Massimo. As they walk along the beach at sunset, Massimo reflects on the time he spent with Laura, realizing how much she's changed him. He says, if you truly love something, then you have to let it go. If it comes back, then it's yours forever. And if not, well then, you let it go without regret. The story of the third part ends here, leaving the ultimate fate of Laura, Massimo, and Nacho for the next installment. Stay tuned for the fourth chapter of 365 Days.